Good afternoon. My name is Greg Salisbury. I'm the Public Information Officer for the Philadelphia Sheriff's Office, and I'd like to welcome you to this town hall, which will feature a live demonstration of the virtual sales process, as well as a question and answer session. I'd like to remind you, if you were not present for the first town hall, you can view that on this YouTube channel, and it will probably answer a lot of the questions that you have. If you have any questions about how the new sheriff sales will work, you can email me at greg.salisbury@phila.gov, or you can type in your questions in the chat section of this YouTube channel, and we'll answer them at the end of the demonstration. I'd like to first introduce the team responsible for all this hard work. They'll be explaining who they are, and we'll answer any questions that you may have at the end of the demonstration. Speaking today will be Philadelphia Sheriff Rochelle Bilal, Jesse Loomis, the CEO of Bid for Assets, a company that will be running the online sales, and Real Estate Operations Deputy Director Melissa Simpson. First up, I'd like to introduce Sheriff Rochelle Bilal. Sheriff?
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining our second town hall meeting, and especially when you're going to have a step-by-step demonstration. But let me start off this way. During the pandemic, there was a stop of sheriff sales, and we haven't had sheriff sales for at least a year. And so we had to sit around and think out of the box on how we can do our job and bring these sheriff sales back to the city. And one of the ways we decided was virtual. And this transition is taking place because it's time to bring the Philadelphia Sheriff Office into the 21st century. A year without sheriff sales gave us that chance to think outside of the box. And then we found the ideal partner to help us build a whole new box in Bid for Assets. We spent months researching our options, and then we found that ideal partner to help us build a whole new box in Bid for Assets based on the success they had had and the success they had brought to other counties in the Commonwealth. They became the logical choice to help us take the next step in efficiency, user-friendly, and system and fiscal responsibility. Let me make a special note here. Nothing is changing for homeowners, homeowner attorneys, homeowners advocates, and others other than the venue. All policies and procedures that were in effect for in-person sales will continue for virtual sales. It should be known that these sales are proceedings at a court order of the courts. The duty of the Philadelphia Sheriff Office is to enforce the court orders, including when to hold the sheriff sale. It should also be known that no properties currently up for auction are occupied. If you are, and just put a special note to that because we get information and it may not all be correct, but what we know, none are owner occupied. But if your property is up for foreclosure, or you see your property listed on the sale page and you are living in it, please immediately contact your lawyer, your advocate, or our office so that the situation can be remedied. I repeat, if you are owner occupied and you see your property listed, you must contact your advocate or lawyer immediately so that they can file the proper paperwork to remedy the situation. And you can do that as of today. The decision for Bid for Assets came when we looked at a few companies that did this type of work as far as online auctions. And Bid for Assets was the one that built their system to mimic the sheriff's sale here in Philadelphia. Others may do it different, but they actually built it to represent the sheriff's sale here in Philadelphia as though you was actually at a venue, but you will be online. So I want you to sit back, take notes. If you are a potential bidder for properties here in Philadelphia, and I know most of you are in Philadelphia, you will find this very informative, step by step, on how you can bid for these properties. Note this, there is no intimidation on virtual sales. There's no sizing up people. You don't have to worry about getting up and go to the bathroom. And for those who work during the day and could never make it down to a sheriff's sale, this is your opportunity to buy those properties right next door to you. So I will step back and I will introduce the CEO of Bid for Assets, who will do the demonstration step by step on what the process is on bidding for properties virtually. Jesse Loomis.
Thank you, Sheriff. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jesse Loomis, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer of online auction site bidforassets.com, which will be transitioning Philadelphia sheriff sales to an online format and managing all aspects of the auction process. Bid for Assets has already conducted online sheriff sales for Montgomery, Monroe, and Berks counties with great success, and Philadelphia's first auctions are almost upon us, with the first foreclosure sale on April 6th and the first tax foreclosure sale on April 9th. Many of you have already started registering on Bid for Assets, researching properties, and funding deposits for the April auctions. Our customer service team has enjoyed speaking with and emailing with many of you, and we've already received a lot of positive feedback about the process of coming online, including that you would no longer have to deal with parking, no longer have to take hours off work, avoid COVID exposure, and the case of one enthusiastic bidder, as the sheriff mentioned, happy that he could now use the bathroom during the auction without fear of losing his seat, as was the case at the live sale. In a few minutes, I'm going to be back to take you in great detail through the Bid for Assets system and show you everything you'll need to do in order to participate and purchase property from the Philadelphia sheriff sales. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. We'll just take a moment now to once again remind everybody that we will be having a question and answer session at the end of Jesse's demonstration. I see a lot of you are already entering questions into the chat box. Please continue to do so, and we will get to as many of them as possible at the end of the demonstration. Now I'd like to turn it back over to Jesse, who will lead us through a demonstration of how virtual sales will work.
Okay, thanks, Greg. Okay, so I'm going to do a screen share here. Sorry, 1 second here. Okay. I assume you're able to see my screen. Greg, let me know if that's not the case. So
it's good.
Okay, good. Okay, so let's go through everything you'll need to do in order to participate in an Philadelphia online sheriff sale on Bid for Assets. So first of all, if you're strictly interested in watching the first few sales unfold, you don't need to be registered, so you can skip this first step. But for those who are interested in actually bidding, first thing you'll need to do is to register a free account. You can do so by visiting bidforassets.com. That's BID, the number 4, ASSETS.com. And here on that blue navigation bar, click Sign Up. And you'll enter a username, create a password, and go through a process of providing your contact information. It'll ask for mailing address, email, phone number. At the end of the process, you'll receive an email with an account activation link. All you have to do is click that link, and it confirms now that we have a good email on file for you and that you're able to receive communication from us, which is very important, of course. And it will also ask if you want to be called or texted a numerical code that you can enter into the site to verify that we have a good phone number on file. Of course, as we're taking over these public auctions, we want to make absolutely sure you didn't mistype any contact information and that we have the ability to communicate with you. I want to emphasize again, there will never be a fee to register or maintain your account on Bid for Assets. If you would like a more detailed walkthrough of a process like registering an account, you can also go to bidforassets.com/videos, and we have a number of video tutorials walking you through step-by-step how to register an account, how to place a bid, how to fund a deposit. So if you really want to see that in a step-by-step basis, you can go to bidforassets.com/videos, or youtube.com/bidforassets also has tutorial videos. Okay, so now you're registered, you have an account in good standing. So let's go on to the Philadelphia landing page. Quickest and easiest way, you'll see here on the left navigation in the third spot, Philadelphia Sheriff Sales. So we'll go ahead and click on that. This is the Philadelphia welcome page. There's a video from the sheriff. And you'll see now there are links to the tax foreclosure and mortgage foreclosure auctions landing pages. So we separate the different sale types, mainly because they have some different terms and different deposit amounts, into two different landing pages. So let's go ahead and start with tax foreclosure auctions. Okay, so here is the tax foreclosure auction landing page for Philadelphia. So the first thing you'll see here is the property list. We can see at this moment for the first April 9th auction, you can always look in the lower right-hand corner here to see how many properties are at this moment still scheduled for auction. You'll see there's a button here in the top left, Show Available Auctions Only. So what this does is, of course, as people pay their taxes or for whatever reason, properties will be pulled out of the sale, particularly as you get closer to the sale date. If you have this box checked, it will only display those auctions that are still currently slated for sale. If you uncheck this box, you'll also see any properties that were originally scheduled for sale but have since been pulled from the auction. So on the, obviously it's a large list of properties. You can scroll through by checking on the numbers or the arrows. The inside arrows here will take you one page to the left or right. The arrows on the end will jump you to the start or end of the list. If you want to look for a particular property and you know the book or writ or the OPA, you can use these search tools on the right, to the right of the property list. Also, if you want to search for a particular, let's say you want to see all the properties on Yoakum Street, you go ahead and put Yoakum into the keyword search box and it will search through the auctions and find those auctions that match that keyword. There's another really helpful way to go about searching the properties, and that is we have a download property list feature. You can be on any particular auction date looking at the list. You click download property list. It will ask you, require you to log into your account, and it'll ask you, do you want to see all the properties or only these still available properties? And then it will provide you with an Excel sheet of a spreadsheet of all of those properties with whatever information is available in the auction. You can sort by price, you can sort, by zip code. So that's a really helpful way to go about researching what can sometimes be a large volume of properties. You will see here on the sales date dropdown that future dates will already be populating in, and you can click on any particular date and it will pop over to the auction list for that date. So we already have another 267 properties pending for April 14th, and so on and so forth. We've got 4 April sales and 3 May sales up on the platform at this moment. So let's talk about minimum bids. You can see here that these current bids for this April 14th tax collection auction, the current bid shows up as pending. Prior to the actual open bidding period, which we'll talk about, the current bid will display the minimum bid amount. if the minimum bid amount has not been provided yet, which may be the case earlier on for tax collection auctions, they need to come in from the law firm, then it'll just simply say pending if we don't have those minimum bids yet. They will come in at some point prior to the auction opening for bidding. Now, if you look at a tax delinquent auction, such as the April 21st, you'll see that the tax delinquent auctions all start at a minimum bid of $1,600. Let's go into a specific auction page here. So you'll see here to the right of reserve, means reserve price, that the tax sale properties are all no reserve auctions. What that means is on all of the tax foreclosure auctions, all the auctions on that landing page, the winning bid at or above the minimum bid will get to purchase the property regardless of price. So if you're the only bidder on this property at $1,600, that's what the winning bid is, and you'll be able to purchase the property for that amount. So no reserve, it's high bid takes it. We'll talk a little how that's different on the foreclosure side in just a minute. You'll also see the buyer's premium listed on the auctions. So for all the tax foreclosure auctions, that amount is going to be 10%. On the mortgage foreclosures, it's 1.5. So what this means is if you were to bid, let's say, $2,000 and win this property for $2,000, you're going to pay the winning bid of $2,000 plus a buyer's premium of 10%. 10% of $2,000 would be $200. So you'll pay $2,000 plus $200 for a total purchase price of $2,200. Looking at what else we have in the auction here, you'll see the basic information provided by the sheriff's office. The auction descriptions are typically not going to have a lot of photos or information. It's really not even going to tell you, is this a house, is it commercial, vacant land? So the burden is always going to be on you, the buyer, to do your due diligence and make sure you're absolutely clear on what you are bidding on before you place a bid. Let's go back to the landing page and see what else we have in here. We've got the settlement instructions below the property list. We'll talk more about how those work for these auctions. Key information are more tutorials, things like how to register, contact information for the bid for assets and the sheriff. You can also get to our contact information up here on the blue navigation bar. The most important document in this sale, you really want to take some time to read through this, is the Philadelphia County Terms of Sale. They are different for the tax delinquent and tax lien sales, the tax foreclosure auctions, versus the mortgage foreclosure auction. So any sale type that you plan to participate in, please take a little time. It's not a tremendous document. It's about 3.5 pages, and read through. This will tell you what your responsibilities are, what the fees are, what the timelines are. This is everything you need to do to in order to be a responsible buyer and meet your obligations and get to purchase the property, and to make sure you don't have any surprises after you put your hard-earned money into purchasing a property. Let's see. Okay, so let's go back to one of these auctions and talk about the deposits. So really, this is kind of the way in which the sale process changes the most versus the live sale. In the live sale, you're standing there in the room, so you win something and you go up and pay immediately after. It's hard to do immediately after when you switch to an online sale. So what we do for these public auctions that we conduct is to have deposit services. So Bid for Assets has a Wells Fargo FDIC insured escrow account that will hold your funds for the benefit of the Philadelphia County. So you'll see the deposit is $1,500 on the tax foreclosure sales. It's $10,000 on the mortgage foreclosure sales. If you want to go ahead and participate in one of these sales, make sure you're looking at any of the properties on the auction date that you want to participate in, because the deposit is not tied to an individual property. it's tied to a date. So if you're looking right now at an April 21st auction and you click for deposit instructions, but you are actually going to participate in an April 9th auction, the instructions will be incorrect in terms of the memo we provide you. So make sure you're looking at an auction in the sale you want to participate in, and then click here for deposit instructions, log in. You know, I have to go back and do another one because I initialized instructions on that one. Let's try May 7th. Okay. All right. So this is what you would see. So the first thing you would see, it's not displaying on my account because I've done this step already. The first time you fund a deposit, you will be asked for your Social Security number or EIN number in compliance with the U.S. Patriot Act, which will be encrypted and stored securely. Next, it's going to ask for your pre-vesting information. This is essentially the vesting information for the properties that you're going to purchase. So I'm going to take title as myself, a married man. I am Jesse Loomis. I'll use bid for assets address. United States. Why did that work? And give an email. I'm going to save my vesting information. It's very important that the vesting information that you enter is the vesting info you'd like to use. If you need to change it after the fact, you'll have to complete an assignment of bid form. You won't be able to do that on Bid for Assets. The post-auction instructions will have some information on how to go about doing that. All right, so now here's a few questions you'll need to answer. Do you want to do a certified check or a wire transfer? Are these funds being used for business purposes? Do you want to transfer this deposit to the next sale? And this will tell you when the next sale after the one you've registered for will occur. I right now was registering for the May 7th auction. So it's asking me, do I want to roll my deposit into the May 12th auction if I'm not a winning bidder? So if I hit yes, then after the auction, if I don't win anything, the deposit will roll to May 12th. If I hit no, I will get a refund of my money. We use a vendor that does printable e-checks. So within 10 business days of the auction's close, if you want to get your money back, you'll receive a link to an e-check that you can print out. You can take to your bank like a normal check. You can scan into a mobile, if you have an app on your phone and you scan your checks, it works just the same that way. So however you want to process it, we've found that doing these e-checks are getting people their money a lot faster than mailing out checks. So that was a switch that's been well received that we made last year. You'll click I agree to Philadelphia County's terms of sale and hit continue. I'm not going to do this because I don't want to display our wiring instructions. I want you to go through this process. It's important that you do this each time because it will give you a unique memo every time you get deposit instructions for a particular sale. The memo will be 2 different numbers, and those numbers help us identify this is your account, this is the auction, in this case, May 7th tax foreclosure auction that you're looking to participate in. So the most important thing you can do to make sure we can expedite your deposit and get you cleared quickly, please include that memo with your check or wire. Because if you don't include a memo, we have to go play detective and figure out who you are and what you wanted to fund. If you include the memo, flip a switch, now you're cleared to bid on that auction. Okay, let's go back to the home page, back to the Philadelphia page. And so let's go talk about what's different regarding the mortgage foreclosure auctions. So you'll see the mortgage foreclosure auction should have the minimum bids quite a bit earlier than the tax collection. because the minimum bid on these auctions is the sheriff's cost amount. So let's go ahead and look at one of these auctions. So minimum bid here, $11,000. Now, whereas the tax foreclosure auctions are all no reserve auctions, you'll see that the foreclosure auctions prior to the auction opening are always going to say reserve not met. These are reserve price auctions. A reserve price is a hidden amount that the bidding must reach in order to have a binding third-party sale. So the way in which the reserve prices are going to be calculated on these auctions, they're going to be a combination of two things. They're going to be the sheriff's cost amount, which we know, that's the minimum bid, it's $11,000, plus the upset price that the attorney sets on behalf of the plaintiff, which typically the lender. So if in this case, let's say the attorney set the upset price at $50,000, our system's going to say $50,000 upset plus $11,000 sheriff's cost makes a reserve price of $61,000. The bidding has to reach $61,000 or it's going to be purchased by the plaintiff rather than you, a third-party bidder. So as you're bidding on these auctions, in the case of a tax foreclosure auction, all you have to do to buy the property is be the winning bidder. In the mortgage foreclosure, you have to do two things. You have to be the winning bidder and you have to get the auction up to reserve met. So if you're the high bidder and the auction's winding down and it still says reserve not met and you're willing to go higher on that property, you're going to have to raise your bid in order to have a chance of actually buying the property. You need to think of the reserve as the amount that the attorney would have bid if they were present at the live auction. So the attorney would be there bidding against you. So that's what the reserve is. It's that amount that the attorney would have been there bidding it up to if they were in the room with you. Okay, let's go take a look at actually bidding on a mock auction. Okay, so this is in its open bidding period. Like the auction we were just looking at, this has an $11,000 minimum bid. It's a, of course, reserve price auction. We know the reserve price has not been met, but we don't know what the reserve price is. I'm going to start by going ahead and throwing in a minimum bid, which of course is very unlikely to meet the reserve in a foreclosure auction, but let's start there. So notice that the system will break down for you if you were to win at your maximum proxy bid, what your actual financial commitment will be. At $11,000, the 1.5% buyer's premium, there's a $35 settlement processing fee. So here's how much money I actually need to have in total. Check 3 boxes. I've reviewed and researched asset details to my satisfaction. I agree to bid for assets terms of service. This will ordinarily say, if this wasn't just a demo auction, I agree to the Philadelphia County terms of sale, which will be linkable. Reconfirm your password. Bid now. My $11,000 bid has been placed. I'm the high bidder, however, reserve not met. So right now I wouldn't get to purchase the property if the auction closed. That's what the plaintiff will purchase the property for. I want to keep going. So now I'm going to put in a $40,000 bid. Check the math again, see what my commitment actually is. Check the 3 boxes. Bid now. Now I'm the high bidder at $40,000, reserve still not met. This is a proxy bidding system. I'm going to go ahead and put in the maximum amount that I know I'd be willing to spend on this property. Let's say it's $100,000. Come on. Check, check, check. Bid now. Bid was placed. Okay, so look at what happened here. It didn't take me to $100,000. It took me to $50,000, and then reserve switched from not met to met. So what that means is that tells me the reserve price was $50,000. Bid for Assets uses a proxy bidding system that will first see if there's an upset price and a reserve price and take you up to the reserve price if so, and then see what the second highest bid is and have you only need to beat the second highest bid by one increment. That increment is $100 on tax foreclosures, $1,000 on mortgage foreclosures. So I'm winning at the minimum amount that I can possibly purchase this property right now and meet the upset price, which is $50,000. But the system knows I'm willing to take this up to $100,000. If no one else bids, I'm going to win it for $50,000. If someone comes in and bids $51,000 right now, the system is going to tell them you've been outbid by a previously placed higher proxy bid. The new bid is $52,000. Do you wish to bid $53,000? So it's going to make sure, again, take you up to the reserve price because you have to meet that or you don't get to purchase the property, and then make sure you overtake the second highest bidder by that $100 or $1,000 increment. So this means there are really two ways you can go about bidding on these auctions. If you're at work, you can take 2 minutes to log onto the site and enter in your maximum proxy bid and know that the system will make sure you only have to pay the minimum amount necessary to meet the reserve price and or overtake the second highest bidder by one increment. It won't make you pay your maximum bid unless someone winds up bidding just below that amount. So one way you can do it, and this will literally only take you 2 minutes, log on to the website, no taking off hours from work, put in your proxies. The other way of doing it, if you'd like to get into that back and forth, duking it out with someone, log on at the end of the auction and place your bid. Now you'll see this auction, this mock auction we're looking at is set to close at 3 p.m. There's a 5-minute overtime period. What that means is if a bid is placed in the final 5 minutes of the auction, the clock will reset to 5 minutes left. If someone bids at 2:58, the new close time is 3:03. Another bid comes in at 3:01, new close time is 3:06. So why do we do this? On eBay, you could literally be winning an auction, with 3 seconds left of the auction, and someone can do what's called sniping the auction. So they come in and bid 2:59, 59 seconds, and now the page refreshes, and you find out simultaneously you've been outbid and the auction is over. But that's not the way auctions work, right? Auctions, you can't get sniped. It's the going, gone. It's back and forth until just one bidder remains. So it'll keep going, that 5-minute window. If someone bids, it's like another 5 minutes of going, gone, and the auction will not close until 5 minutes passes without a bid. So that if you're watching and you get outbid at the end of the auction, you will have a chance for a few minutes to go in and counter bid. I know proxy bidding can be a little confusing at first. If there are any questions on it, please enter them into the chat box and we'll walk you through that at the end of the auction. And we'll do that at the Q&A at the end. Okay, so now the auction's over. So what happens after the auction? So let's talk briefly about the settlement terms. So you're going to owe a balance of 10% of your winning bids total and the buyer's premium by close of business the day after the auction. So let's say you win $200,000 worth of property in a foreclosure auction. Doesn't matter if it's one property or multiple properties. You win $200,000 worth of property. There's two things you can total to see what your balance is going to be due close of business the next day. 10% of what you've won, which 10% of 200,000 would be 20,000, and the 1.5%, which would be 3,000. So 20,000 and 3,000, you owe a total of 23,000. But we have a $10,000 deposit from you, so that's of course credited. So 23,000 minus the $10,000 deposit, you'll owe a balance of $13,000 by close of business the day after the auction. A remainder of 90% plus a $35 settlement processing fee will be due within 15 days of the auction's close. So in this example, it would be the $180,000, the remaining 90% plus the $35. So $180,000, $35 will be due within will be due within 15 days of the auction's close. I'm going to show you an example of our post-auction email. You don't have to do the math. We're going to break it all down for you. This is how much you owe by tomorrow. This is how much you owe in 15 days. So let's talk briefly about the the second bidder program. I'm sure many of you who have attended the live auctions are familiar with this program. So the way this works is if the auction results in a third-party sale and you are the second highest bidder, you will have an offer pop up on the auction page immediately after the auction, asking if, immediately after it closes, asking if you would like to accept or decline the offer to be the second bidder on that property. If you accept, you're pretty much treated exactly as the winner for practical purposes. So you're still going to owe now 10% of that amount by close of business the day after the auction. We'll hold on to your vesting information, and then basically you just have to sit back and wait and see, does the winning bidder complete the sale or not complete the sale? There's more information on this in the terms of sale. I would encourage you to read up. It talks exactly about what those timelines look like. But so the offer appears in your dashboard and on the auction page the moment the auction closes if you're logged in, looking at the auction, and you're the second highest bidder. That offer stays open until 30 minutes from when all the bidding closes. Remember, even if the auctions are scheduled to close at 1 o'clock or at 1:30, it doesn't mean the bidding is automatically going to close at that time because there's overtime period, and it's impossible to know exactly how long that overtime period is going to go. It's very common that we have overtime bidding. It can easily go 30, 60 minutes past the close time from the auction's close. So you will have, once all the bidding is closed, we start a 30-minute window for you to accept or decline your second bidder offers. You will also receive an email when that 30-minute window begins. So if you're logged onto your email, about a minute after it closes, you'll receive an email. You have second bidder offers. Go to the auction page, go to your dashboard. Here's a link, accept or decline. If you don't respond in that 30-minute window, it will be treated as a decline. And after that 30-minute window, there just won't be a second bidder on that auction. It's going to have you confirm. There's an example of just hitting the confirmation. Here's another place. When you go to My Account on the blue navigation bar at the top of our website, you'll see there'll be a tool report second bidder auctions. This is what that tool looks like. So you have the property, and then you can accept or decline the offer. You can click the link to see if you need a reminder on which auction that was. So again, it opens as soon as an individual auction closes and stays open until 30 minutes from the time the final auction and the sale closes. Here's just an example of the post-auction email. So again, it's going to tell you, maybe a little hard to see, but amount due by wire. The payment due the day after the auction must be by wire because of the short time frame. The payment due within 15 days can be by check or wire, cashier's check, certified check, money order, or wire. So it'll tell you amount due by wire. The next day is this, and then the remaining balance on this date and time 15 days later is this. If your deposit entirely covers the amount that would be due the day after the auction, you'll see a 0 here, as is the case in this sale. So that would mean your deposit entirely covered the balance due the next day, so you don't actually have to send a payment for that one. And then finally, I just want to reiterate, Bid for Assets has live customer service Monday through Thursday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern Time, Fridays from 9 to 5. Our customer service is based here in Silver Spring, Maryland, where we're headquartered. Welcome you to give us a call, 301-650-9193. You can email service@bidforassets.com for general support if you have feedback on the process. If you have questions specific to deposits, you can also email deposits@bidforassets.com. Greg, back to you.
Thanks so much, Jesse. That was a lot of information, and we've got a lot of questions. So I'm going to lead off. The first question is from Gwen. She says the listing of properties for mortgage foreclosures is different between the Bid for Assets site and the sheriff's site. Which one is current so that we can do our research? Jesse, I'll go to you for that one.
Sure. I mean, I can't speak to the information on the sheriff's website, but this is the most up-to-date information that we've received. So I would certainly encourage you to go with the information on the Bid for Assets website. We pull that information twice a day out of the system. So you may at some point see prior to the auction date just a brief lag that would always be less than 10 to 12 hours in terms of updating the data. But Bid for Assets is generally going to be the best place to go for the information.
Sheriff, you back them up on that?
Basically, Melissa should, because Melissa is there with the information. Melissa, the person is saying that the information is different from Bid for Assets site.
Yes, we understand that our website has not had the most up-to-date information. We are working on correcting that. However, the Bid for Assets website has the most accurate, detailed information as to the statuses and what properties are scheduled for sale.
Okay, Melissa, if you'd stay on, this question is for you. It's from Randy. He wants to know, are we allowed to view the property, not by going inside the property, but by walking on the property to go around the property if there is no one living in the property?
So technically, you are not allowed to go on anyone's property. That would be considered trespassing. You are allowed to view the property from the street. Other than that, no, we do not recommend that you walk around anyone's property or approach the property in any way.
Okay. Melissa, Mason wants to know about the types of liens that would survive a tax sale and how he can go about researching them to conduct his due diligence.
So with some of the tax sales, there are what are called state priority claims. And those are liens that the state has placed against the owner of the property who lived in that property. What you can do is you can contact the state to, if you're the successful bidder, you can contact the state to work on an agreement to expunge those liens. We also suggest that you contact the city solicitor's office here in Philadelphia, as they could assist with that information as well. But those are mostly the types of liens that would survive on a tax sale here in Philadelphia.
Okay. And Dana wants to know, if the property does not have tenants and I paid for the property, how soon can I enter the property?
So as we state in our conditions of sale, you are not the rightful owner of the property until you have received a recorded deed in hand. So you cannot do anything with the property until you have that recorded deed. If the property is unoccupied and you know that for certain, then we suggest you contact the locksmith to try to gain entry to the property. However, we do suggest that you take any steps necessary to confirm that that property is unoccupied.
And just let me step in here. You really have to read the terms of sale. You really have to read it and digest it so that you will know the answers to these questions of what you can and cannot do. One of the things you don't want to do is get yourself in trouble after you become the winning bidder. Please, you want to be able to enjoy what you got. So read the terms of sale. Thank you, Melissa.
You're welcome.
Melissa, another one for you. They're coming in fast and furious here. How do we know if a mortgage foreclosure sale is subject to a mortgage or a property lien? In that case, would the sheriff's office issue a clean title?
If a property is subject to mortgage, then no, you would not receive a clean title, as you would be responsible for taking on that mortgage. The information as to whether a property is subject to mortgage or not is advertised, as we advertise every property that is coming up for sale. So you can view that information in the advertisement. If you're unsure, you can contact our office. We'll be more than happy to assist you with that information.
Okay, and Mike wants to know, how long does it take to receive the deed once he settles on a mortgage foreclosure property?
So as this is a new process, we do not have a time frame for you. In previous years, we tried to stick to a 6 to 8 week turnaround time for that deed to be recorded. In some cases, we were able to get it done quicker, and we are hoping to improve upon that time period by going virtual.
Great. Anthony wants to know, if the property is a mortgage sale, the primary mortgage, what happens if the property also has a second mortgage? Who's responsible in that case?
If the property is being sold subject to mortgage, then that second mortgage would be your responsibility. If the property is not being sold subject to mortgage and there's a second mortgage on that property, then it is the responsibility of the attorney putting the property up for sale to notify that second mortgage company that the property is going to sale. They would then need to bid their interest in order to have additional funds to pay off any mortgage that remains on the property. Otherwise, they forfeit their interest in the property.
Okay. Fatima, or Fatima, I'm not sure how that's pronounced. She wants to know, once she purchases a tax property, how can she show that she is tax compliant? Is there something to submit through Bid for Assets or the Sheriff's Office?
So the instructions for obtaining tax compliances on all tax sales will be on the Bid for Assets website. There is an email address that is provided by the Department of Revenue that you would submit your request to that email, and they would email you back the tax compliance certificate once they've done their review.
Okay. Melissa, I'll give you a break for a minute. Jesse, Justin wants to know if Bid for Assets will return the buyer's premium if a sale is set aside.
Yes, I should have brought that up. So I understand sales can be set aside. I understand there's a right of redemption on some of these properties. So if the sale is set aside within 1 year of the auction occurring, Bid for Assets will be returning the buyer's premium back to the buyer.
Okay, Jesse, another question for you. Scott wants to know why there's a difference between the buyer's premium for the tax sale versus the mortgage sale.
Values of mortgage foreclosure properties are significantly higher on average than tax foreclosure. So we decided to significantly discount our buyer's premium on the mortgage foreclosure sale so it would not be an impediment to bidding.
Okay. Bertie wants to know, what does pending mean in the current bid column on the site?
Pending means that the law firm has not provided the minimum bids yet for that particular auction. So they'll be provided some point prior to the auction opening. So as you do your due diligence a little earlier on, you kind of have to figure out kind of what you would want to bid, not yet knowing what the minimum bid is.
Okay. Fatima wants to know, a follow-up question for her, can we see current bids or final bids if we're not registered for that particular auction?
Yes, you don't need to be registered. You don't need to be logged in to watch any of the auctions. I believe we have a Montgomery County auction this week if anyone wants to come onto the website and watch that one unfold. So you can just pull up any auction page, or you can refresh the landing page and you'll see the bidding actually update, and then you can go into any of the auction pages afterwards. I believe we keep you saw the date drop down. We keep an auction after it's closed. We keep it in that date drop down for 1 week. So if you want to come on the day after a sale, scroll through, see those results, it'll be there for 7 days after the auction's closed if you'd like to see the results.
Okay. Melissa, back to you. Adam wants to know, how do we know if there are any state liens or open violations? He says these are typically announced by the auctioneer at the time of the auction.
So yes, they were announced by the auctioneer at the auction. We are working on getting that information out with regard to any state priority liens. And if you have any questions about a property, you can contact the state, or once again, you can contact our office and we can check to see if we have that information. We don't always receive information on every state priority lien that is out there against the property going up for sale. So there have been cases in which we receive the information from the buyer who does a title search and they come back to our office. But once again, that's something that can be discussed with the state as far as removing that lien from the property.
Okay. Jesse, Jeff wants to know if he's bidding on a property through an LLC or a corporation, does he need to register on bid for assets under his personal or business name?
So, yeah, well, both is the right answer. So you definitely have to provide, we'll ask first name, last name, and there's an optional field for your company. And so you'll, as the sheriff said, you'll fill out all those fields. And then when you do your pre-vesting, it's going to ask you how you want to take title to the property. And the example I did as, a married man, but I could have selected a corporation, an LLC, what have you. That's basically the process you would go through.
Okay. And Jesse, I know we covered this in the first town hall, but Samson wants to know, is the $10,000 deposit good for both tax and mortgage sales or just the mortgage sale?
No, you have to think about the tax and the mortgage almost as two completely different entities, let's say. So the $10,000 is just for the mortgage foreclosure sales. And if you don't win something, you can roll it into the next mortgage foreclosure sale. It'll be tied to a particular date of a mortgage foreclosure sale. The $1,500 deposit is for a tax foreclosure sale. And if you don't win something and you want to roll it, you can roll it into the next tax foreclosure sale. There isn't a mechanism to move, since they're different amounts, to move from one type to the other type.
Okay. Melissa, Laura wants to know, how does she get a certificate of no debt when she lives in another county?
So if she's referring to the tax compliance certificate, then it's the same process. You just send your information to the Department of Revenue. They will create a temporary account to put your information in and to get that certificate back out to you.
Okay. And Jesse, Hussein wants to know if he can purchase 2 or more properties with just one deposit.
Yes. So a deposit is tied to an auction date, not to a particular property. So I think, 321 properties in that April 9th sale. Funding one deposit will let you bid on 1 property, 2 properties, or 321 properties. So it's just one deposit for a particular auction, call it event, lets you bid on all of the properties. So if you want to bid on 2 properties on a particular sale date, you don't need to send 2 deposits. Just send 1 deposit and you're good to go for that sale date.
Okay. Melissa, SC wants to know, are past due water, city liens, and real estate taxes included in the upset reserve price?
Yes, for mortgage foreclosure sales, though, that information is included in the price. For tax sales, we do clear those liens. So any money due to the city for taxes, water, gas, or nuisance will be expunged by the sheriff's sale for tax sales.
Okay. We have another question from Fatima. She wants to know, can bid for assets or the sheriff's office tell a bidder if a property is vacant?
We do not have that information. We receive a court order to sell the property and we execute it. That is all the information that we have is whatever we receive from the courts.
Okay. Jesse, Hardik wants to know, is the full payment due within 15 business days or 15 calendar days, including weekends?
It's 15 calendar days, but if day 15 falls on a weekend or federal holiday, it will be the first business day after that, but it is 15 calendar days. And then when I say, of course, it's due the 10% is due the day after the auction. If it was a Friday sale, that would be Monday. So it's the first business day. First business day after the auction for the 10%, 15 calendar days, or the first business day after that for the remainder of the 90%.
Okay. Melissa, Amir wants to know if the settlement process is different for tax sales versus mortgage foreclosure sales.
The settlement process is the same. The payment will be made through bid for assets. The only difference would be that on a tax sale, you are required to obtain a tax compliance certificate.
Okay. And Robert wants to know, will the sheriff's office be issuing sheriff's memos for clearing city liens as was done in the past? And if so, or if not, who do we contact to get that?
So we are working with our city partners to have them remove the liens following a tax sale. We will send them the information as to which properties were sold. They also are notified once the deed has been recorded. So it is the city department's responsibility to remove those liens. And if you see anything after you've received your deed, contact that department and let them know that you purchased the property at sheriff's sale and the lien should be removed.
Okay. Jesse, a question for you. Alex wants to know if during the auction, is it possible to cancel my bid if I bid by mistake?
No, it is not. Bids are irrevocable, legally binding contracts, so please don't make any mistakes. When you place a bid, again, it's not like you can just type in a number and hit submit and it submits it, because you saw what I had to do on this test. You type in an amount, you hit bid, and then it gives you a full breakdown of this is the amount, these are the fees, this is all this. You have to check 3 boxes and hit submit. So you have to go through that every time you bid to make sure you can't, fat finger and just accidentally, oops, I have an extra 0 in there. But you can't change your mind after the auction. You can't, go drive by and say, I want out of this transaction. Every bid cannot be removed. It's a legally binding contract. So please do your due diligence and double check the amount you bid before you confirm it.
Okay. We got time for one more question before closing comments. BCM wants to know, what is the time frame for the winner to get a tax compliance letter? What happens to the deposit if the bidder does not receive the compliance letter within the specified amount of time?
Go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead, Minister.
So, tax compliance letters, the current time frame is 30 days. We are requiring that you pay your balance within the 15 days required. We will give that time for the tax compliance to come in, but we must receive that in our office within the 30 days. So if you do not apply for it or receive it within those 30 days, then you are considered in default and you have not met the conditions of sale, and you will forfeit your 10% deposit.
All right.
What you can basically do, once you apply for your certificate and there show us proof that you applied for it. So if it runs a little late, you're talking about city mechanisms, we'll know that you applied for it and you get that extended time.
Great. All right, and with that, we'll conclude the question and answer session. Sheriff, I'd like to turn it over to you to close this town hall out.
First of all, thank you all for coming on our town hall meeting. And I hope most of your questions were answered. And if you still have questions, we will have this there. And just like Jesse from Bid for Assets said, that there are tutorials on the website. Jesse, can you give that? The tutorial Bid for Assets /videos is where you can get those tutorials on how the process works. Am I correct in that, Jesse?
You're correct.
Okay, you can go on Bid for Assets /videos, and get that information. And thank you so much. If you still have questions, don't hesitate to contact us. We want to make sure that everybody knows the process and that we make this process as easy as possible. I want to thank all of y'all, because all the emails we've been getting is everybody's delighted that this is a process that's beginning to happen in the city of Philadelphia. because it's already been going on around the different counties. And we just wanted to make it catered to just what Philadelphia do here in this city. And we will basically make adjustments along the way. Nothing's perfect, but we will make those adjustments along the way to make sure that you have an easier process and that you know the process. Now look out for our educational pieces. We will be making sure that we are around city, any type of divisions or districts or organizations, that we can basically show this step by step for anybody in this city that wants to learn this process. We want to make sure all of y'all are educated on how we do this. Thanks again for joining in our second town hall meeting, and we will notify you the next one that is coming up. But look for the advertisement as to when everything is, and look online for our first April the 6th mortgage foreclosure sale so you can see how it's going to go. Thank you so much and have a good day.